All right, here we
There
are.
we are. I got dizzy for a second.
Yes, y'all was going all over the place. Anyway, here we are, Pro Wrestling Inside and Out. I don't know if y'all heard what I just said at the beginning or not.
We heard absolutely nothing.
All right, so here we are, Pro Wrestling Inside and Out. Hello, everyone. We are all back with you, Jack Lord, Rodney West, Brent West, and one of these days I will learn actually how to make sure we are on when we get here. I don't know that I ever learned. We're going on 1 year. I think actually on the 25th of February, I believe 1 year we have been doing the podcast. Am I correct about that?
I believe that's right, because I remember it was before my birthday in March when we started. So.
Well, here we go. 1 year later, I still don't know how to turn this on and start us at the beginning. So maybe I can learn at some point, or if we get enough support, maybe somebody else will have to do that at some point. Because evidently I'm not learning here.
Maybe we need to pre-tape the open.
Yeah, that could be true.
Well, if we get enough supporters, we'll hire an engineer.
This is true. We may need that. Let's talk a little bit about right now Mid-South Wrestling episode 290. Decent episode, Rodney. Let's go ahead and review that show.
All right, we start off with Boyd Pierce and Bill Watson. They're postponing the TV tournament. Not quite sure why, but they're postponing the TV tournament this week. And then Chris Adams refused to wrestle Kerry Von Erich on television for day. Then it's Jake Roberts and Bill Watson. They had a tremendous interview. It was very natural. It was just like a conversation between Watts and Jake Roberts talking about that he wants the TV title, of course, the TV tournament coming up. And he said something, and Watts said something about Terry Taylor being the North American champion. He said, well, if Taylor wants a chance, come on, why not? I'll take on Terry Taylor. At the same time, also mentioned that he had a call from Ric Flair and mentioned at the end that he could be bought, which plays in part later on in the program. From Power Pro Wrestling, we watch a match then with Hercules Hernandez and Steve Dr. Death Williams against Brickhouse Brown and Josh Stroud. And that one, Brickhouse shined real big time as he got a win over Hercules as he does a second rope headbutt on Hercules for a win on Power Pro Wrestling, which sets up for a match later on in the program. Match number one, we're going to call this the scrambled egg match because it was scrambled beyond belief. It was Jack Victory against Brickhouse Brown. Brown eventually ends up winning this. Not quite sure how, but he wins that one with the headbutt from the second rope, and it's Brickhouse Brown winning. But yeah, we're not sure what happened there. A lot of back with the interview with Boyd Pierce and Bill Watts. They recap the match from last week between Terry Taylor and Kamala. Of course, Terry Taylor wins that match after Jake Roberts interfered, falls down, and of course, Taylor hits Kamala with a cross-body. Jake's still down. Kamala trips over Jake, and Taylor wins that match, and then all heck breaks loose. And wrestlers come from everywhere as they recap that. Of course, building up for the big match in the Superdome coming up. It's the Ugandan Giant Kamala against Shawn Michaels. Kamala wins the match, of course, after it attacks by disqualification. Kamala doesn't win the match, but he attacks Michaels after the match, causing it for a disqualification. Tim Horner, Terry Daniels, Terry Taylor all out. Akbar then runs Taylor's head into the post, tried to run his head in the post. It reverses it. Taylor pile drives Friday on the outside on the floor. Kamala carries Friday out. Just tremendous stuff. Then we're back again with Bill Watson and Boyd Pierce to recap the match the confrontation between the Barbarian and Reed, where Reed had his clothes all tore up, and of course building up to the ghetto street fight match between the Barbarian and Butch Reed. Then match number 3 has the Barbarian against Mike Jackson. It is the Barbarian over Mike Jackson with the full Nelson. Then interview with Ted DiBiase, and he talks about his loss to Jim Duggan, and he had to leave, of course, his loser leave match that he lost at the Superdome between he and Jim Duggan. DiBiase will be gone for 6 weeks. Of course, he's gone to Japan, so you know why he's gone. Anyway, so it's Ted DiBiase giving us an up-to-date on that one. Match number 4 has Steve Williams and Chris Adams against Tom Pritchard and Terry Daniels. And I don't know if you noticed, but Tom had put on some weight. It's just the last time I saw him on TV, he looked really in great shape. It's in the end, it's Chris Adams catching Daniels with the super kick. and Steve Williams and Chris Adams, the winner in that one. Then we have our fifth match. It is Kerry Von Erich, the modern day warrior, versus Thor. We also refer to Thor as Thor the Terrible. They don't advertise him that. We just called him that because that's what he was, terrible. And in this match, it's Kerry Von Erich winning with the Iron Claw. Jake Roberts is out, attacks Kerry, and then in from the side comes Chris Adams with a tremendous super kick, knocking Kerry Von Erich out of the ring. Terry Taylor's in. He carries Taylor out. Carries Kerry out, and Jake Roberts and Chris Adams still in the ring. Kerry and Terry come back to the ring. They clean house, and Jake Roberts and Chris Adams run for the hills after Von Erich and Terry Taylor hit the ring. Match number 6 is the Dirty White Boy against Tim Horner and Brad Armstrong. This could have been a really, really good match. It was decent. In the end, it's the Dirty White Boys are Glenn Denton catching Tim Horner with the fallaway slam. Dirty White Boys over Tim Horner and Brad Armstrong. Match number 7, Paul Brown against Steve Casey. And, of course, Casey wins with the bow and arrow. We have the close coming up next week on the program. Will be Eddie Gilbert making his first appearance, the Nightmare Dutch Mantel, and a tag team match with Kerry Von Erich, Terry Taylor, and also Steve Casey will face Chris Adams in the first round of the Mid-South Television Tournament. And that is
Rodney, I understand you said that the match between Brickhouse Brown and Jack Victory was some scrambled eggs. Well, I got you a carton of eggs there that way you can.
Well, those, if that was the case, they would have been broken and there would be stuff all over the place. It was quite tragic.
Yeah. Jack, what'd you think about that tremendous match?
Well, I wondered why Brickhouse didn't get the push we all have talked about we thought he deserved. And after this match, I see why the plug was pulled. Because the thing is, TV is where you don't make mistakes. You're not allowed to make mistakes on TV. Everything's got to look good because that's what sells tickets. And this would have been a concession stand seller right here. I mean, it was not Jack Victory. And I love Brickhouse. I thought Brick was great, great guy, but man, this was terrible.
That was horrible.
Yeah,
that was bad. I'm with Rodney, though. The Jake Roberts interview with Bill Watts was great.
It was just very natural, wasn't it? It was just like they were having a conversation. It was not overdone. It was just perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Did you see where Bill Watts during one of the matches, I can't remember which one it is, but he talks about TBS again?
Yes. And at this time, Mid-South Wrestling is being seen on TBS on Sunday nights, 6:05.
And to Terry Taylor, even though we say some bad things sometimes about Terry Taylor on this program, I thought the stuff that he did with Akbar and Friday was just tremendous.
Yep.
I mean, great stuff. The timing was great. I thought it was spectacular. I love the Indian with the Von Erichs and Von Erich and Taylor. And the Dirty White Boys, I like the Dirty White Boys, Brad and Horner match. I thought that was a good match. And Steve Casey, did he ever go anywhere else after this? Does anybody remember him anywhere?
I believe he went home. He was supposed to be the special guest referee in the cage match with DiBiase and Steve Williams against Jake Roberts and the Barbarian. And before that match ever happened, he, I think, went back to the UK.
He was very good, by the way. I thought he was great, but as we see, he did not stay there for a very long period of time. Something that I want to talk about right now is we've been getting a lot of people that said they want to be supporter. And maybe, and he said we hadn't explained it as good as we need to explain it. I think at the top of the Facebook page, does it not say become a supporter? Is that the exact word?
A green link bar up there.
All right, because see, I never see it. I'll only see it as the designer, so I'm not for sure what it says as a viewer, as somebody that watches it. But I do believe it says become a supporter at the top of the page, and but that is how you become a supporter of the page. And like I said, I never see that portion. I never see what everybody else sees. I only see it. Oop. Hey, that's us.
I hit the wrong thing. Hold on.
Jack's going to show you because I've had a lot of people. I had about 10 people message me and said they couldn't find it, and I never see it that way. So that's the reason I can't say exactly what it says.
Okay.
All right, let me get up.
My lights may be too bright. Anyway, right under the heading, there's a blue bar that goes all the way across. You can barely see it here. That says "Become a supporter."
All right,
all you have to do is click on that, and it'll walk you through all the steps.
And what I'll try to do is we'll try to put together something that lets people know exactly how to do it. I've had all kinds of people said I would support it, but I don't know how to do it. And we'll do a walkthrough at some point and let everyone know exactly how you do it. And if I ever my hand ever work, I'd hit the button and go back to us. But we will share that, and we'll try to get and try to make it a little bit more simpler of how you support the page. All right, Jack, Rodney, what is it, Rodney?
Just run real quick. I want to run over that Superdome card for March that they had.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It went about 95. Supposedly had about 9,500 people for that one. It was Jake Roberts beating Shawn Michaels. Steve Williams defeated Terry Daniels for the American Heavyweight Championship. Chris Adams versus Kerry Von Erich. Eric won by disqualification. 6-man tag match. Brad Armstrong, Shawn Michaels, and Terry Daniels defeat Thor, Edgar Thomas, and Jack Victory. Ghetto Street Fight. The Barbarian defeated Butch Reed. Michael Hayes defeated Paul Ellering by disqualification. The tag elimination match is the Rock and Roll Express beating the Dirty White Boys, the Freebirds, and the Road Warriors. North American Championship match. Terry Taylor defeated Kamala by disqualification. And in the loser leaves, tuxedo street fight coal miners glove cage match. They left some. I think they didn't leave anything out of that. Maybe a strap and a chain. I don't know what else. It was Jim Duggan defeating Ted DiBiase, and so that was the Superdome card, which I do not believe I went to.
You know, I'm thinking 9,500 people seems very light for that, because just think of the people who were on it. The Freebirds were on it. The Road Warriors were on it. Kerry Von Erich, Chris Adams, and only draw 9,500 people. That wasn't great when they were drawing sometimes 22,000 people.
This time, the year before, was 25,000 people.
Was Terry Daniels on that card?
Terry Daniels was on the card.
Well, there you go.
Well, the bottom line, though, if you'll remember, we watched this show. We've been watching the Mid-South shows. Nobody knew the Road Warriors were on the way. Nobody knew the Freebirds were going to be there. Only people that knew were in New Orleans. So this was basically just a New Orleans show. And it wasn't like normal where there would be a whole, for the entire area, for the entire territory, basically, to come see the show. And it was not advertised that way.
I just wondered. I mean, that's very low.
It seems very light, but you're not actually. That last card of 25,000 was the last time Mid-South ever saw a crowd like that from wrestling.
What was the main event on that? Do you remember?
The main event for which one?
The 25,000 people.
It was a Midnight Express against the Junkyard Dog and our Stagger Lee and Bill Watts was the main event.
Well, all right. So it is time now to go see what the insiders have got to say. And let's go and see everybody and see what people have got to say today. James William Lawrence III. Good evening, gentlemen. Greetings from West Virginia. Good evening to you. Jeremy Travis. Good evening from the mighty Lawton, Fort Steele area. Freddie Rooster Roper doing his paintings over there. Some tremendous.
In the hat. We like that hat.
Yeah, hello, guys. Hope you're doing well tonight. We are doing good. Dr. Phil Bull Grice is with us, one of our supporters. Hello, gentlemen professors. I hope you all had a great weekend. Yes, I think we all did. I worked all weekend, though. I was worn out. Glenn Shelton, hello to you. Stuart Kemp, welcome from the very wet Northwest. How you doing, Stuart? And I hope you are feeling well. Another one of our supporters, Yvonne Burns. Hello from Western Pennsylvania. She is one of our supporters as well. Victor Nash. Hello, everybody. Hope all is well. He's got the Pro Wrestling Inside Out shirt on.
There you go.
Me and him both we're styling. Me and him both.
You could be a tag team.
I started to put mine on tonight, but I grabbed this one first.
The Texas Wrestling
Academy.
Victor Nash, Brett, I see you got my T-shirt on. Yes. Kevin Barkwell, the loser leave town match between Ted DiBiase and Hacksaw Jim Duggan was around the time Ted showed up on Georgia Championship Wrestling.
Not this time. No,
he goes to Japan this time.
He goes to Japan this time.
And doesn't he? When he comes back, doesn't Dick Murdoch there by then?
I'm not sure. I think we've got to do before Murdoch gets there. I think we've got to have the matches between between the Rock and Roll Express and Williams and DiBiase first. And
Victor Nash said, "I love seeing Shawn Michaels get destroyed."
He paid his dues.
He did. Paul said, "Hello from
Ontario."
Well,
we don't get as much snow as they do in Texas. Christopher Hughes, evening guys. Hope everyone is doing well. I'm looking forward to Mondays again. Well, thank you so much, Christopher. Dennis Mitchell, Terry Taylor, in my opinion, was overrated.
Overrated, overbearing, overconfident, a lot of over, but not over. Let's just not say he was never over anywhere.
The most over he ever was in Mid-South Wrestling, though.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, because he got the reactions from fans. I mean, he really did. Until they turned him heel. And then the action they got was no ticket sales. That was the only reaction.
The Superdome, as I watched through, I told you about 9,500. Superdome gets down to 3,500 people. And that's how bad it gets.
Richard Hood just checked in, fellas. How you doing, Richard? One of our supporters as well. Let's see. Stuart Kemp said, "Last chance wearing of my," and it hits the wash tonight. What does that be? What's that
Pro
mean?
Wrestling Inside and Out.
There you
Okay.
We don't all know our acronyms yet.
I didn't even know that's what that was, Stuart. I'm telling you, I believe I'm just doing too much. What do you think? I might just need to take a respite at some point. 7 days a week now I work. So, and plus I do this. So but I enjoy this is mine. I just ain't here half the time, I don't think. Kevin Penley, hello. How you doing, Kevin? Good to see you on here. Mickey Mayfield, any chance of getting Jerry Oates on the show, Jack?
Pretty good chance. We're not going to advertise, but I'd say don't miss tomorrow night.
There you go.
There you go. Dr. Philbo Grass, if I can become a sporter, it is simple. Well, we might have to get. It just. I've had 10. I actually turned back on my messages on Facebook. You can message us exactly on Facebook now. Now I've had some weird things come up on that messenger though. I know why I turned it off. Okay, I mean I've had people tell me they loved me and all kinds of stuff on there. It's crazy, but I turned it back on, and I bet you I've had 10 different people say we cannot figure out how to do it. So we will do a video at some point to show people how to do that. Stuart Kemp says still need to make a channel on YouTube. I'm not technically savvy. You do have to have one to. Because Stuart, I was talking to Stuart about it. You do have to have one to actually leave a comment, correct?
I believe so. Yeah.
You can't just go on as a guest. You must have a.
Yeah, you got to have an account.
And it's just like having an account. If I'm not, it's like having an account of anything. You don't really have to put anything on it.
No, you don't have to ever post anything, but it allows you to comment, like. The whole 9 yards there.
Glenn Allen said, rest in peace, Brickhouse Brown. Yes. Victor Nash said Jack the Miz cashed in last night and became WWE champion.
He did. I was watching.
Who did he defeat?
I can't even
Drew?
think of the champion's name, the Scottish guy.
Drew McIntyre.
Drew McIntyre. Yeah. Drew McIntyre had the elimination match and he won. He beat everybody in there, so he retained the championship, and then Miz cashed in. I thought it was really good.
It was shocking when Drew announced that he was pregnant.
Now, I don't think Miz is going to keep it very long. I don't believe he's slated to defend at WrestleMania, so we still got one more pay-per-view to go.
Rick was one of the people that asked us about how to get to that, and so I hope that helped you some, Rick. And I'll also send you something because I've got it together of how to do it. So I'll send that to you on your back to the message. Wait a minute. He said he was listening from Foulmouth, Kentucky. Maybe somebody else should be handling this show today. I don't know if I'm there or not. So, Christopher Hughes, see, last week I told everyone that I had at one time 1,187 wrestling magazines, mostly coming from 1970s. And yes, I lost them in a flood.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Yep. We know. We feel your pain.
Carl Smith. Is that how you say his name? Smith.
Schmidt. Yep.
Hello from Bill Watts area, Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. Mark Dodd. When JYD and Magnum TA left the territory, the territory just never recovered. Great show, guys. It didn't. Junkyard Dog. They had a little bit of a time there that did all right, but I think when the Rock and Roll and all them guys left, they just didn't have people to take their place. Well, they did have Wendell Cooley and Al Perez, the new Rock and Roll Express.
Which probably would have drawn if they had not called them the new Rock and Roll Express.
and not put the stuff. Oh, that was dumb. There's just some of this. That's another one of the things. What in the world were they thinking? I mean, there's a lot of those that you wonder sometimes. On Pluto 732 had Ron West ref on Nasty Boys on one show. Was that during that show you, Jack, you went down there with them?
I'm pretty sure it was. I haven't watched that yet. I clicked over to see that it was on, but there was some kind of independent wrestling show in a bar, and it did not catch my interest since the first thing they did was start cussing and shooting birds. So I left.
I think that was it North American?
North, yeah, no.
Atlantic, South Atlantic.
Yeah.
South Atlantic Championship Wrestling.
Yeah. And that was fun. They had some great talent on that show.
Well, that was George Scott who put that together, was it not?
I believe so.
Let's see. Ken Shamrock was there, but he went as something else. I cannot remember what his name was.
Vito or
Vince Torella.
Vince Torella.
Vince.
Is that it?
Yeah, I think that was it. Charles Bellflower. Any comments on Wrestling 2 beating Ernie Ladd in Atlanta and then went to Mid-South Wrestling as North American champion? Rodney?
Yes, that was a shock to everybody when 2 won, and then off to Mid-South he went, North American champion, and one of the top wrestlers for Georgia Championship Wrestling handing out. But that's what happens when you own 10% of Georgia Championship Wrestling. Bill Watts owned 10% of Georgia Championship Wrestling.
Great. Look, we have to do this. This is really good. Stuart said, I was thinking about the best turns ever. Ones built up versus ones that was snappily done. What about a show devoted? That looks like a good show for us.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And there has been a lot of turns. Now, if you watch WWE, they'll turn you about every 5 minutes. They'll turn you about 5 times on one show. They have turned that Otis so much, I don't even know what he is anymore.
Bless his heart.
I mean, I think he just turned on Rey Mysterio or something.
Yeah, sure did.
Crazy Stuart. Yes, we're gonna work on that. I think that would be a great show. Thank you, Stuart. Victor Nash said, Jack, did you see Dory Funk Jr. in the audience on AEW last Wednesday
I
night?
saw the picture of them seating him before the show. Last week was just one of those shows where I just could not engage. I tried, but I just couldn't pay attention to what was going on. It didn't draw me in.
Glenn Allen said Texas World Class Championship Wrestling was an American arena. Dennis Mitchell also a while back with Jerry Oates when he wrestled in Mid-South, wanted to be healed, but Bill Watts wouldn't let him. He wouldn't let him turn. That's crazy. I wonder why he didn't, because he had always worked babyface there. So people wouldn't have saw it coming. Kevin Penley said, Mr. Boring. Miz.
I'm going to tell you, though, as a guy that works behind the scenes on shows, I wish I had a Miz on every show. I mean, he's a utility player. He can go in with anybody and does whatever is asked of him.
Well, I must say, I fast forwarded through Raw, which is the best way to watch it, by the way. And the Mitts did something that I had not seen in quite some time on the show, and that was beg off. And I said, "Go Mitts, go, go Mitts, go." That was fantastic. And then after that, everything goes downhill. But there you go.
I think
they do the same thing over and over again on that show.
Say again. Say
Which
that again.
one? I'm sorry.
You say that again.
Yeah.
They do the same thing on that show. If they do more being distracted finishes of any place I've ever seen. I believe I counted 28 in the last couple of weeks. Just watching little snippets of stuff. There's always somebody distracting them. Am I just over? Am I seeing just the same video?
No, I agree with that. I agree with that. It's almost like they just put them. Well, it is like they put a minimal effort into it, because it's almost like a show that I'm very familiar with, where everything is a run-in. So
you can't do that, I'm thinking maybe.
What I noticed is that I don't think I've watched the show since October, and the same players that were playing they were pushing back in October are the same ones they're pushing now. No difference whatsoever. The only difference Charlotte Flair is the only difference that I've seen since we stopped covering it back in October.
I'm sorry, I couldn't. 3 hours of Raw was hard to watch.
Well, I fast forward through it.
Well, actually, my favorite part now of it is that we run like an hour and a half into the show every Monday night, so I don't have to worry about it.
Glenn Allen,
I just cannot believe that they cannot stop doing the 15, 20 minutes of talk at the beginning of every show. I cannot understand why it is this. To me, the first part of the show will, hook people to keep them through the rest. I just cannot believe that
I keep praying for a hot opening, but it don't happen.
Well, I'm going to tell you what they do. This is prop night. I'll tell you what they need to do. They give you that 20 minutes so you can go get you a ham sandwich.
Okay, well, apparently. You can had it. I mean, it went for forever. And Drew McIntyre just drug on forever. And you thought, well, would they just get to it? Whatever they're going to do, and let's move on. It was quite painful to fast forward through.
Glenn Allen said, "Love Jerry and Ted Oates." Yes, they had some tremendous matches.
And in Georgia, I think they should have been done better. I think if they were hometown guys, they should have always been those ones that could come in and clean house and really give a good push. I really do.
I wrestled Jerry Oates in Columbus, Georgia one time. And you didn't have to do anything. Just a little bit of healing on him, and those people were ready to come kill me. I mean, that's how over he was. Yeah,
they were both tremendous. They could have drew a lot of money with the Freebirds and Jerry and Ted Oates if it was if they wanted to. But Victor said, any chance of getting Kevin Sullivan on the show? Rodney just don't bother answer that question. There's a possibility that we could. There is a possibility.
We'll have to tape that though, because we'd have to beep a lot of that stuff out.
What we could do, We would have to have the tree of woe, and all of us would have to have the third eye.
Shannon Kathleen Moore, how are you doing? Hello, gentlemen. How are you doing? Good to see you on here. Glenn Allen said, I'm in both. I'm not for sure what he was talking about.
I don't know, but I hope they fit, Glenn.
He was telling you it was Drew McIntyre.
Oh, Drew. Kevin
That's because Drew is not very rememberable. He just not.
I believe Terry Taylor was humbled when Vince gave him the Red Rooster gimmick. Although he made money, his career was never the same.
He didn't want that gimmick to work.
No.
Yeah, I would be cockadoodling all the way through an airport if he had given me that gimmick.
I would have too. I would have made it work. I would have, even if it was a joke on me, I would have made it work.
I would have developed a strut that when I started doing a move, and I would have turned around and I would have strut all the way around that ring, and every single thing. It would have been like the Fargos on steroids. It would have been unbelievable. I would have been as cocky as all get out.
I would have glued whatever it took to the top of my head.
And I would have had me a robe made that had a tail coming on the back of it. I would have done that gimmick. I'm telling you, I would have done that gimmick up. I mean, if they give you a gimmick, roll with it and make it work.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things that he could say. Look, I'm the king of the roost. There's all kinds.
Off to the walk. I mean, there's so much.
There's nothing. I mean, that thing could have worked. It could have worked.
Yeah,
he didn't have to do the red hair thing. He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to do that whole thing. He already had the really good robe. Olivia made him a nice jacket. And it looked great. And if he would have made that, he could have made that work. He could have made that work. He could have done the strut. Well, he needed to get with Michael Hayes. He could have taught him the strut, and he could have strutted from the. Well, Michael Hayes could have done this gimmick.
Oh yeah,
Michael Hayes could have done this gimmick. Or he's a free bird anyway.
Christian,
bird to another. He didn't matter.
I don't think we said Ted, did we?
No.
It's the other Oates. Now we're not advertising that because you never know.
It's rumored. It's rumored that Jerry Oates may or may not be here tomorrow night.
Strong rumor.
Yeah,
it's
from a real reliable source.
Yes.
Glenn Allen said Bobby Lashley beat down.
That was last night too.
He said, "I think Miz loses it tonight to Bobby Lashley."
I don't know if it's tonight, but I think it's coming. I think that's your WrestleMania main event is Lashley against Drew McIntyre.
Yvonne asked, "Who do you think the best wrestler to ever hold the Mid-South Mississippi Championship was?" You know what? I have to say Ted DiBiase.
That's exactly who I was going to say.
Yeah,
and I think wrestling too after that, but I'm going to go Ted DiBiase wrestling too.
It pretty much any territory that Ted DiBiase was in, he was the best wrestler in the dressing room anyway.
Victor said I had an echo.
Yes.
Hello.
It's gone now, but he's right. You do have an echo on occasion.
I don't understand. I don't know if it's the equipment. Maybe I need some new equipment.
I think I was kidding about the engineer joke. We're not. Floor director.
Somebody that actually hit the things, because the other day I was always a little behind. Today they'd have to wait a little bit before I hit it. And my finger wasn't working. I must have a dead finger or something because it was not doing what I needed to do. Guys, I'm ready to purchase my T-shirt. We'll go to
ProWrestlingTees.com. Look up Pro Wrestling Inside and Out. You got 3 choices there, all the way up to 5X. Jump on it.
Kevin, Vinny Valentino.
Yep.
Christopher Hughes said, "How many times has the new gimmick been put on something in pro wrestling and have it work?" I guess he said pro wrestler. Sometimes, but
well, I mean, the Undertaker.
Gimmick.
The Undertaker's the greatest example of it.
Yeah. Kevin said Rodney turned on Kevin Sullivan. So.
Yeah, the Undertaker is a perfect example because if you watched his interview on the network, he says that when Vince called him, he said, "Am I talking to the Undertaker?" And he didn't have a clue, but he knew it was Vince, and he said, "Yes, sir. This is the Undertaker." He was going to make that gimmick work from that first phone call, from that first indication. That's my gimmick. He didn't care. He was going to make it work.
And it's up to you to make it work.
Yep.
When somebody gives you something, it's up to you. When they give William Shatner Captain Kirk Rowe, it was up to him to make that work. And if he didn't, he wasn't going to be great. Kevin Omega challenged Moxley to exploding barbed wire death match at the pay-per-view.
Well,
where are you going to go from there?
We did have a loser leave tuxedo street fight coal miners glove cage match.
I was actually thinking when you were saying that, I was thinking about this Kenny Omega thing.
Victor Nash said, I think that was rubbed towards Dory Funk Jr. was in the audience, but I don't think Dory did them matches. It was Terry Funk that did all them matches, didn't he?
Yeah.
I think they asked Dory.
Dory was the wrestler. Of course, Terry was a great wrestler too, but he didn't care to do the hardcore.
Oh, no, he liked to do that kind of stuff. He was before his time, actually.
Yeah.
Kevin said, who was the other guy on AEW? I'm not for sure what he's talking about there. Kevin Skelton, hello from Tuscaloosa. Didn't Mid-South Wrestling suffer when the oil prices collapsed in 1986? Yes, I believe they did.
Yeah,
I believe that wasn't good.
And Mid-South ticket prices were higher than any of the other places we'd ever been.
Well, I will tell you this, though. I think it had somewhat to do with it, but at the same time, and they had some bad booking at that point in time, too.
Awful.
Yeah, there was a combination of things, but if you don't have a show and people are financially struggling, they're not going to pay to go see it.
And the worst, I'm just going to say the worst mistake Mid-South ever made, changing the name to Universal Wrestling Federation, was the final nail in the coffin.
Now, if he had bought the TBS spot and then changed the name, I could have seen that. But he jumped the gun and then did not follow through.
Anything but Federation. I mean, to call it a federation, I'm not sure what they were thinking at that time. I just don't. Same thing with Continental Wrestling Federation. That was something that should have been done either.
No, I don't understand why that was. I just cannot get into the WWE anymore. AEW, yeah, sometimes. I mean, I respect their talent. It's there. Just don't get into it. Kevin Penley, the guy ringside that was staring at. This is an inside conversation. I'm not for sure I understand. Rick Brooks said, do you know if Pampero Furbo?
Yeah, Pampero Furbo.
Worked in Georgia or Mid-Atlantic territories in the 70s. I'm not for sure. I don't
remember him.
I don't know.
We would have to look to give you a definitive, but I don't remember ever reading about it.
Greg Hickey, good evening, fellows. Hello to you. Mark Todd, Jerry and Ted Oates was vastly
underutilized.
Yes, you're exactly right. And they were really awesome. And it never was that more apparent was when Ted Oates went against Bobby Eaton, sold out the Municipal Auditorium in a cage match, was just huge. And you would have thought, hey, we have something here. Let's do something. But no.
Remember, it was not the other booker's ideal.
That is correct.
We won't tell you what other booker it was, but the booker running that at the time was Ron West in Columbus. So the other booker, y'all can just figure out on your own who the other booker was in the other towns.
Well, we were told at the time Georgia was dead. Yeah. I mean, that was the anything that was said about Columbus or Macon. Oh no, Columbus is dead. We've got to go somewhere else. We've got to go to Ohio and West Virginia and Michigan. No, Georgia was dead. Georgia wasn't dead. Georgia was neglected. That's exactly what happened to him.
There you go.
Hickey Mayfield said, how about Cornette and Russo together? That'd be fun to watch.
I don't think but one would come out alive. And my money would be on Jim.
Russo being on there makes it unwatchable. So you could, I couldn't.
What was that, Jack? And we're running out of time, but what was that you did a post the other day, and Russo said something about
he said he was replying to somebody who had gave a pretty severe critique over how bad he was, and he replied, "Bro, I don't care." And my response was, that sums up his entire wrestling career. I don't care.
Yes.
Yeah, he didn't care. He had no respect for professional wrestling. Christopher Hughes, they should come in with a really good match midway. I mean, that to me is what's based on, right? Wrestling, yes.
Amen.
That's what it should be. And get away from things that make no sense. You know, I mean, we all could come up with deals, but you need to sit back and go, does that make sense? Does that, but now if you don't respect wrestling, what do you care?
What the whole, I was watching Raw last week, and like I said, I fast forward through it. The whole gauntlet match made no sense to me. Why would you have a match like that with the Elimination Chamber just the next week? Makes no sense. You basically saw it. You saw everything you wanted to basically see. I mean, to me.
Victor Nash. Only one I remember was Dory Funk Jr. He was sitting next to his wife with the blonde hair. Glenn Shelton, so doing double. Glenn Allen said, this freezes up again. Go back to YouTube. Are we freezing up? Are we freezing up on Facebook?
Well, I saw you freeze up, but I didn't know if it was my connection or you.
Kevin said there was a black-haired guy at ringside they were talking about.
I don't know. It's hard for me to hear him fast forward.
That's true. That is true.
Kevin Barkwell said, I would have loved to see Ted and Jerry Oates get a short run as World Tag Team Champions against Ole and Gene Anderson, like Ole did for Dusty Rhodes and Dick Slater when he made Slater a babyface in 1970.
I think if they had ever done that and saw the kind of money that they would draw, it wouldn't have been short-lived.
No, I think you're right. I think you're exactly right.
Charles said, Terry Red Rooster Taylor needed a manager dressed like Colonel Sanders.
And it seems like I remember them talking about that, but they were afraid about Kentucky Fried Chicken suing them for the similarity.
Glenn Allen, Junkyard Dog.
There you go.
He was a good North American champion. Brian Bodie Green. We better have pictures of the Mississippi Championship. You know what? I don't know.
The last belt I remember, that belt, the Louisiana Championship, and the Mid-South Tag Team titles look identical, pretty much. They're same design, the same.
I will message Gil Culkin. His dad was the promoter in Mississippi, and I will see if he might have pictures. I'm still not through with his book, by the way, that we're going to review at some point.
Brian Bodie Green said, I'd also like to hear more about the GCW Colored Heavyweight Championship held last by Bearcat Brown. I don't know that I ever heard of that.
I want to hear about it too.
Yeah, we'll have to look it up, Brian.
And anytime you mention Bearcat Brown, I'm there.
Yes.
Right.
Dr. Phil Bogras said, all the jabber and all makes me feel like I'm on the trio. Whoa.
It's and the announcement that oh, I'm telling you, I after the announcement, I thought, can I fast forward any more through that whole show after the pregnancy announcement?
Yeah. When was Sid Georgia heavyweight champion? I don't think Sid was ever the Georgia heavyweight. I don't think he even around.
No, he wasn't.
Unless there was another organization that had a Georgia heavyweight champion. He was not the official NWA Georgia heavyweight champion.
But somebody asked if that was Eric Bischoff. He don't have black hair no more. Completely gray now. So it's not him. Unless he could be gray now, but I mean, he could be black again. But last time I saw him was about a week ago. He was completely white. Mike, how you doing? Good evening, fellas. If you see Mike, I didn't even try to say your last name.
Rawlerson. There we go.
We have two other people that can say your name. I just cannot.
Just tag me. All you got to do is hold your stand.
Tag you in there.
Tag me in.
I'm off having a ham sandwich. And Dennis, Vince Russo sucks.
We don't have to read the rest of that. All of us are already agreeing.
There you
And
go.
I would like to see a match between Ronnie Gossett, Eddie Graham's cousin, and Vince Russo. Ronnie would have won.
Yeah, he would. And then left for the gate receipts.
That's right. That's right.
Let's see. Ted and Jerry Oates versus Midnight Express. Who you got? I'm going with the Oates. Well, now, if it was in a, well, yeah, I don't know because all four tremendous wrestlers. So I don't know.
People would have paid to see that
Yes, they would.
several times.
And Ronnie Gossett can't make it. Robert Fuller would have made a perfect Colonel Sanders. Well, that's who he really that Foghorn Leghorn, I believe, is who he was trying to go for. As
Colonel Parker,
Robert
yes.
Parker. Aaron Gartland is with
Hey,
us.
Aaron.
One of our supporters, by the way, Aaron. We've got a couple of things. He sent me a photograph of the Houston County Farm Center.
Yeah, I got that. And Aaron comes up with some great questions.
Yes, we're going to work on those questions and get the shows on for them. Christopher Hughes, both the Oates were very good. Riddle is the USA champion.
Yeah.
And Mike said, "You got it." Just for men. I don't know what that. Oh, I think I know what he's talking about now. Rick Brooks, Bob Backlund would make the kids line up in single file and sign every autograph and take time to talk to each one. Now that is classic. All right, folks, we're going to have to get off of here. I think we got everybody on. Jack, who do you think we need to tell the people before we leave?
I got one little plug I want to give out to Rocket City Championship Wrestling in Hazel Green, Alabama, which is straight up on 431, 231 above Huntsville. They had, I went Saturday night, was the best wrestling show on the independent scene that I have seen in years. There were no high spots. There was nobody, well, there was two guys come off the top rope the whole night, and it meant something. Those guys were on the mat telling stories. If you guys are in the Alabama, Tennessee area, go buy a ticket.
Rodney, any final thoughts for the show?
No, I'm ready. I'm ready for the next one.
All right, folks, tomorrow night, there may be a special guest. 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. There may be a guest. And there's rumors that Jerry Oates could be with us. That's just a rumor, though. We don't know until he actually gets on, because sometimes we have problems getting people on. So that's the reason we don't advertise now. They just show up. Also, I want to, if you want to become a supporter, we're on our way to the supporters. So all people who are supporters of the page of Pro Wrestling Inside Out, we're going to talk. And I believe tonight we're going to talk. We're going to do the second part of Jim Crockett Promotions, and we're going to talk about the Fabulous Freebirds again. They're still in Georgia, and we're going to talk about a little bit of what's going on in Georgia Championship Wrestling. All right. Thank you so much. And thank you, Jack. Thank you, Rodney. And we're going to go continue this conversation over on the support.
And we froze. We'll see you at the supporter page.
Bye.
All right. See y'all later. All right. Thank you. Bye.